Redemption at sunset. The blistering heat of the arid desert, the sun beat down mercilessly on the small, peaceful town of Redemption. It was the kind of place where folks minded their own business, raised their families, and lived life at a leisurely pace. That is, until the day the notorious posse known as the Black Scorpions rode into town. The Black Scorpions were the stuff of nightmares. A ruthless gang of outlaws, they had just pulled off the greatest heist in the history of the West, robbing the First National Bank of El Paso and making off with a fortune in gold and precious gems. Now, they were on the run, and Redemption was their latest hiding spot. It wasn't long before the townspeople began to notice the strangers in their midst. Tall, broad-shouldered men with faces scarred by gunfire and hardened by years of violence, they seemed to appear out of thin air. Whispers of their infamy spread like wildfire, and the once peaceful town was plunged into a state of paranoia. Sheriff Samuel Slick Thompson, a seasoned lawman with a quick draw and a sharp mind, knew he had to act. He discreetly posted the most wanted outlaw list in the local saloon, hoping that someone in town might recognize the Black Scorpions and alert the authorities. He also put the town on lockdown, barring the entrances and exits, and stationing deputies at key points throughout the town. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the tension in Redemption reached a fever pitch. The townspeople huddled in their homes, peering out through curtains and cracks in the doors, watching as the Black Scorpions prowled the streets, looking for any sign of trouble. And then, just as the last rays of sunlight vanished beneath the horizon, it happened. A young boy named Timmy, who had been playing near the saloon, spotted the most wanted outlaw list and recognized the faces of the men who had terrorized his family's ranch just weeks before. With a cry of alarm, the boy ran to Sheriff Thompson, who was standing outside the saloon, taking a much-needed swig from a flask. The sheriff's eyes widened as he recognized the faces on the list. The Black Scorpions had found their way into Redemption. Before he could react, the gang's leader, a man known only as Rattlesnake for his deadly fast draw and venomous temper, spotted Timmy and the wanted list. With a snarl, he drew his gun and fired a shot into the air, sending the townsfolk scrambling for cover. "Gentlemen!" Rattlesnake bellowed, his voice echoing through the now silent town. "It seems we've got company. Looks like we've got a little problem on our hands, doesn't it?" As the Black Scorpions fanned out, taking up positions around the town square, the people of Redemption huddled together, praying for a miracle. Little did they know that a storm of gunfire and bloodshed was about to descend upon their peaceful haven, and that their lives would never be the same again. Sheriff Thompson, his heart pounding in his chest, knew he had to act quickly. He gathered his deputies and a handful of brave townsfolk, arming them with whatever weapons they could find. They took cover behind barrels, wagons, and buildings, their eyes fixed on the outlaws who now controlled the town square. Rattlesnake, sensing the impending confrontation, grinned wickedly. Well, Sheriff," he drawled, "looks like you've got some fight in you after all. But let me tell you something, partner. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of your league. So why don't you just lay down your weapons and let us be on our way? We'll be out of your hair before you know it." Thompson spat on the ground. "I'd sooner see you all hang than let you terrorize another innocent town," he growled. "You're not leaving Redemption, Rattlesnake. Not alive, anyway." With that, the battle began. Gunfire erupted, shattering the silence of the desert night. Bullets whizzed through the air, splintering wood and shattering glass. The townsfolk, fueled by adrenaline and desperation, fought with a ferocity they never knew they possessed. Sheriff Thompson, his gun blazing, moved from cover to cover, taking down outlaws with deadly precision. Rattlesnake, meanwhile, seemed to be everywhere at once, his gun spitting fire and his laughter echoing through the chaos. The battle raged on, the air thick with smoke and the stench of gunpowder. One by one, the outlaws fell, their bodies littering the town square. But the townsfolk suffered losses too, their cries of pain and anguish adding to the symphony of violence. Finally, only two figures remained standing, Sheriff Thompson and Rattlesnake. They faced each other across the blood-soaked square, their guns trained on each other's hearts. "It's over, Rattlesnake," Thompson said, his voice barely a whisper. "Drop your weapon and surrender." Rattlesnake laughed, a cold, hollow sound. Surrender? Never, he hissed. I'd rather die than rot in some jail cell. He lunged forward, his gun blazing. Thompson reacted instantly, his own gun spitting fire. The two shots rang out simultaneously, echoing through the silent town. Rattlesnake stumbled backward, a look of surprise on his face. He clutched his chest, blood seeping through his fingers. Then, with a final gasp, he collapsed to the ground, his reign of terror finally over. Sheriff Thompson stood over his fallen foe, his chest heaving. The battle was won, but at a terrible cost. He looked around at the devastation, the bodies of friends and enemies alike littering the ground. Redemption had been saved, but it would never be the same again. As the sun rose on the blood-stained town, the survivors began the long and painful process of rebuilding. The scars of that night would never fully heal, but the people of Redemption had faced their darkest hour and emerged victorious. They had learned the true meaning of courage and sacrifice, and they would carry those lessons with them for the rest of their lives.